Do you want to enroll more clients into your health coaching business? If so, I'm going to share with you the one surprising way, the one surprising thing you can do in this video to improve your chances dramatically. Welcome back, guys. Uriel Kim here, CEO and founder of Healthpreneur. We help world-class health professionals build scalable coaching businesses without the guesswork or grind. And if you're looking to attract and enroll more high-paying clients, then the reality is you're not going to expect people, you shouldn't expect people to land on your website, click a buy now button for several $1,000s and end up working with you. So what that means is the vast majority of clients you're going to be enrolling are going to be through conversation, right? Over the phone, over Zoom. And with that said, the number one way to improve your ability to convert more of those prospects into paying clients is by being a more persuasive communicator. It is the single number one most important skill I personally help our clients develop, because here's how this plays out if you don't get this. You have, let's say over the course of the year, 100 calls with prospective clients and a handful of them enroll. You spent 100+ hours talking to people who said, I'm interested, I want to change, I want to get better, and you've enrolled a handful of those people. That is a huge amount of time you spent for a very, very little output. By contrast, if you get better at the art of communication, specifically being able to persuade someone in the direction that is beneficial for them, then those 100 conversations could turn into 20, 30, possibly even 40 enrollments. And if you charge, let's say, $5,000 for your coaching, 40 enrollments times $5,000 is a lot of money compared to 5 clients at $5,000. So you literally 8 times your business by becoming a more effective communicator. This is why I say sales is not a numbers game, it's a skills game. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 simple ways to become a better, more persuasive communicator. So the first thing we want to do is understand that first impressions really, really matter. So I would strongly advise that if you're having a conversation with a cold lead or a person who's never spoken before, that you have a Zoom video call. It's obvious, like you're just going to build more rapport, there's more trust, there's all this kind of stuff that's going to be very obvious in a video call compared to just on the phone. So with that said, when you launch a Zoom and they pop up and you pop up, it's really, really important before even anything that comes out of your mouth that you set things up to win, because you can't redo a first impression. Can you imagine like getting on Zoom and like you're trying to figure out your mic and you're all over the place and the person is seeing all this unfold? It's not a good first impression. So there's 3 things that you want to do. And I want to give credit to Vanessa Van Edwards, who's amazing at the work that she does with understanding human behavior and buying cues and how people can be better at communication and using body language. So I'm going to share 3 things that she talks about when you are starting to make this first impression. So first and foremost, you want to have a genuine smile. Okay. So when you launch Zoom and your video's up, make sure you're ready to go. And obviously you're live in the room before the person comes in. Look at yourself on the camera. You can see yourself on the screen and just make sure you're smiling, right? If you start the call dead serious, it's not a great first impression. Okay. Because remember, before the words come out of your mouth, instantaneously, people have made up most of their mind as to, can I trust this person? Do I like this person? Can I respect this person? So it's really important you set this up properly. So genuine smile, not a fake smile, genuine smile. When you have like the crow's feet here on the side of the eyes, like that's a genuine smile. Like you're excited. You don't have to be like a puppy dog, golden retriever excited to speak with someone, but genuinely show that you're like, hey, I'm really, I'm happy we're able to talk here. So it's a genuine smile, step number 1. Second thing is sit open. So you're going to have open body language, right? So this is not open body language. This is closed off. I'm, half there, half not. You want to be very open. So shoulders are square to the camera. And with that, you're going to have shoulders back, chin neutral. Okay. So you don't want to be slumped over like this. Sitting tall, shoulders back, chin neutral. And this is open body language and a confident posture. When we think of how humans operate, there's always an alpha in the conversation. And in a sales call, you always have to maintain authority and leadership. Okay. And it doesn't have to be through the words that you speak or how you speak them, but it can literally be how you use your body. So for instance, if I'm sitting on a call with you and I show up like this, are you going to feel like I'm an authority that you want to listen to? No, like I look like a scared mouse. So essentially, when you have a closed body position, arms are closer to the torso, chin closer to the torso, shoulders are closer to the ears, all of this very contracted body language is not, it's the complete opposite of what you're looking for. So if we know this is not alpha, like this is not someone I'm going to respect and take authority or like command respect from, we do the opposite. So from this, we simply just open up. And I know Tony Robbins, if you've done any of his work, he talks about the 2 millimeter difference, right? And if you think of your posture, right? He talks about just even sitting from this position, 2 millimeters. So just open your chest up a little bit can release chemicals in the brain to feel more confidence. And it also is perceived by the other person. You have to remember that we are unbelievable detectors subconsciously because we've had to become to survive, to do well in life, to propagate the species. And we pick up on these subtle cues that a lot of times we're not even consciously aware of. So I'm bringing them to your consciousness here so you can show up at the start of your call. And I'm telling you this is before a word comes out of your mouth. Okay. So sit up tall, shoulders are back, chin is neutral, and just smile. So when the person comes on, you're like, hey, Deborah, I'm so excited to meet you. Thanks for being here. It's a genuine smile. Okay, it's genuine. I'm honest. I'm being authentic. So that's step number one. Your first impressions matter, and you can never redo a first impression. The second way to become a more persuasive communicator to enroll more clients in your calls, this actually also applies to your coaching calls, is break the pattern with positivity. We're creatures of habit, right? So we tend to do things like, how's the weather there? Where are you from? Oh, cool, I'm here. Who cares, right? So when you start the call and you've opened things up, you're like, hey, great to meet you. Happy to speak with you over the next 45 or 60 minutes. What's good? What are you excited about? What are you looking forward to this week? And so you start the conversation instead of saying, hey, how's it going? Right? How are things? Like it's just the very boring, monotonous, the sustained thing everyone hears. So by you starting the conversation with positivity, you get the person's brain focused on the good. You shift their mindset from complaining about something. Like if you ask someone, how's your day going? I bet you 80 to 90% of the time, you're going to hear more of a negative response. And you'll hear stuff like, no use complaining, better up here than 6 feet under. Like, whoa, dude, I don't even want to have the conversation anymore with you. Like if that's the headspace you're in, like that's not a great way to start the call. So we always want to set the tone. We want to set the agenda. We want to take authority and leadership right from the get-go. How we show up physically and the first words that come out of our mouth. Hey, Deborah, it's so great meeting you. What's good in your world? What are you excited about this week? You don't have to ask all three of those, but just something. So when I'm hosting coaching calls with my clients, the first thing I always do is everyone's getting on Zoom. Hey guys, welcome to Insert Name a Coaching Call. Make sure your cameras are on so I can see your lovely faces and keep your mics muted. That way we don't have a lot of interference. And once you got all that set up, you know the deal. Pop your win into the chat. What's been good in your business or personal life this week? Let us know inside the chat and everyone just win, 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 win. Because if we don't start with that, and I ask a question like, hey, what are you struggling with? Oh man, this is going to turn into a group therapy session, which is not what we want. So you as the leader need to take leadership of the call. So we want to break the pattern, and the pattern is people's tendency to be focused on what's not working. Myself included, we all do that. And if someone's booking a call to speak with you, it's because they have a problem that they want solved. So they're coming into the call, maybe with that headspace of like, I'm not feeling good, I have all these health issues or whatever it is. And if you start the call there, it's just not starting on the right foot. So break the pattern with positivity, ask a question, expecting a positive response. So again, what are you excited about this week? What's good in your world? Right? Simple ideas like that. And the third way to become a more persuasive communicator in the entirety of your conversation, and to be honest, in any conversation, is to actively listen with curiosity. I would say when I review sales calls, whether it's our teams or our clients, I would say that active listening is one of the biggest missing pieces of the puzzle. Here's what I mean by that is, you ask the person, so, let's dive in. Like what prompted you to book this call with me today, not a year ago, not 6 months down the road. And they start telling you a bunch of stuff. Okay, let's say they give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. And then you're like, cool, thanks for sharing that. Now let me move on to the second question I want to ask you, which is this. And it's like you're moving through a checklist. It's like an intake form at a medical office. It's the worst way to ever have a conversation with anyone. If you're on a podcast or being interviewed by someone, and I'm sure this from personal experience, the best interviews are where the host asks a question, you respond with your take, and then they continue down that thread as opposed to being like, cool, the next question I have on the list of questions that I'm going to ask you is this. And why that happens is we actually are not skilled enough to even be present in the conversation. What I mean by that is if you're so worried about what to say next because you haven't practiced enough, then you can't be present in the conversation. And the best present you can give somebody is your presence. Okay, do not mistake the importance of full presence on the prospect. Like, think about this. They're giving you an hour of their time and vice versa. I would venture to say that most people you're going to speak with don't even have the depth of conversation in their personal lives that you're going to allow them to have with you if you lead the conversation properly. So let's say that the person starts off and you're asking, why are we talking now? And they're saying like this, and this. You lean in and be like, with a tone of curiosity, like you're actually, curiosity implies interest. So it's like, so when you said this, like, what exactly do you mean by that? So you could be either confused, like they're not clear, right? And you want to ask a clarifying question. So we ask a clarifying question, which essentially says, I'm listening to you and I'm interested, but I'm not quite clear about what that meant. Can you tell me more about that? Or, if they've been, person says, well, I'm just at a standstill, like in my case, like I'm at a standstill in my business and like everything I've tried hasn't worked. And that's why we're talking today. Well, thanks for sharing that. Like when you say like you've tried everything and nothing's worked, can you just unpack that a little bit for me? So what I'm doing there is when you say I've tried everything and nothing has worked, does somebody else know exactly what that means? If the answer is no, then we have to ask a clarifying question. And this is called active listening, which is person says something, you're listening to what they say, and then you thread the conversation. It's very much like a social media post, right? You ask a question, they respond, that's their post. And then you reply with, how's that affecting you right now? And then we're going to say this, and then you can thread it even more if you need to. So in our world, we have 3 levels of conversational questions. We have like the problem or situation questions, we have clarification questions, and we have impact questions. So clarifying questions or clarification questions are, I don't understand what you're saying. Can you just unpack that a little bit? Like what exactly do you mean by that? Or can you give me an example of that? Like those are examples of clarifying questions that you're piggybacking on what they said, but you're showing genuine interest because you want to learn more. Then underneath that, once you're clear about what they're saying, then you can say, well, it sounds like this. That's got to be really hard for you. And now we get into more of an impact, more of an emotional question. And now the person feels heard, they feel seen, they feel safe because you understand them. So I'm telling you, like across the board, the biggest mistake I continue to see in sales conversations are people, health professionals, because that's who we work with, who are more concerned about just making sure they get through the questions than actually being present in the conversation. And last week, actually, before this video, I was listening to one of our clients' calls, and this actually came up. And she helps people with really bad eczema. And so the prospect had mentioned a bunch of stuff. And then she said, but I'm just really skeptical. And then our client jumped in and said, what's making you skeptical? What do you mean? But she said something along those lines. There was a clarifying question, but I just paused the record. I paused the video and I said, great job on doing that. Because what you just did is exactly what you want to do, is you can politely interrupt to ask a clarifying question because you're actively listening. When the person says, I'm skeptical, let's unpack that because that's going to become an issue later on in the conversation. We need to address it now, right? So for instance, if I'm in a conversation with someone, this actually happened recently, just in the DMs, and so-and-so is like, well, I'm working with another coach. And this is after they expressed interest in working with us, and they're relatively early in business, so I probably know they're making a decision based on, finances. So I said, hey, that's not a problem at all. Who did you decide to work with? And they said, this person. Now, first name only. Why would you not include the person's last name? Whatever. Anyways, so first name only. So I could have just left it, but I'm always very curious. My whole philosophy is you're either earning or you're learning. You're either working with me or I'm going to find out why you're not. Because that way I can, number one, identify if you're even the right prospect sometimes, or if we have to do a better job to better articulate our value and communicate that appropriately. So I asked the question, well, what made you choose her? So I'm not on script here. This is not in the script. I'm just genuinely curious. Like, what was it that made you choose her? Now, that conversation hasn't gone anywhere, but I'm showing you an example of like, I want to get to the truth all the time. Now, we can only get to the truth by actively listening to what people say and then going deeper if we want to clarify it. Now, please understand that when you're in a conversation with a prospect, there are mission critical questions and there are a waste of time questions. So if you are having calls that are ridiculously long, then I'm seriously going to get you to consider what type of questions you're asking. Because I promise you, if your calls are like, let's say you set 45 or 60 minutes to an hour and you tell the prospect at the start of the call, so listen, I've got you on the calendar for the next hour and here's what we're going to do. And then you're an hour and a half into the conversation, that's disrespectful to their time. And you're doing something way wrong to even spend that amount of time. So in the discovery, which is where most of the conversation happens, you're asking questions, prospects talking. You want to look at how much is the prospect talking? How much are you talking? You simply want to be asking questions. That's it. They're going to talk, you're going to listen, and you're going to dig deeper. So it's like 60 them, 40 you, that type of ratio. At least it is for the best reps. So if your calls are like an hour and a half, 2 hours, I'm looking in the discovery, what questions are mission critical? And then I'm looking at which questions are you asking? And like, do you have to ask this question or does it even matter? You want to be asking questions that are only going to move the prospect closer to the sale. So if someone's coming into my world and they want help getting clients and they're burnt out, I understand the context of the situation. Like, I'm going to ask the question like, okay, cool. I totally understand your situation. How many hours a week right now are you dealing with patients or clients? And they might say 60. Okay. So I know that they're trading time for money. They're burnt out. Now, a stupid question for me to ask is, well, what types of things are you doing with your clients on the back end? Like that's a ridiculous question that wastes time and doesn't move the prospect closer to resolution of the main frustration that they have. What they're doing on the inside once the client enrolls is irrelevant to this conversation. We can handle it later on if that comes up. But I always want you, and I want to encourage you to think about what are the absolutely non-negotiable questions that I need to have answered, and everything else I can just leave till we're on the inside. We can figure that out then. So if you want to enroll more clients, you have to become a more persuasive, charismatic communicator. Now, when I say charismatic, I'm talking about someone who is both warm and competent. That combination is charisma. I'm not talking about confidence and like cockiness. I'm talking about you care about the prospect and they can sense you're an expert. And you're never coming across as desperate, needy, this puppy dog energy, like, oh my God, it'd be so amazing to work with you. No, like you are the prize and the prize never chases. So if you want to become a more effective health professional as a communicator to enroll more clients, it starts by being better with your words, how you say them, and how you show up physically. So we want to start with a good first impression. We want to break the pattern of negativity with positivity, and we want to actively listen with curiosity throughout the call. Now, obviously, there are other nuances beneath all this stuff, but those are 3 big ones that will help you be a lot more effective in your calls. If you've enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. I've got hundreds of other videos to help you help more people and grow a thriving online health coaching business. For now, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next one. If I gave you $1 million tomorrow, how would you invest it? Interesting question. Well, today in this video, I'm going to share with you the single best investment. In fact, the 6-step investing framework that will produce better returns than stocks, crypto, real estate, possibly even all combined.